Hi, I'm Ted Nelson, and tonight I want to talk about my adventures in Oz. Sometime in 1949, when I was 11 or 12, I went with my cousins to see The Wizard of Oz, the Judy Garland movie, at Radio City Music Hall. I was absolutely outraged. The movie was so disloyal to the books. In the books, Dorothy was a girl of 9 or 11. In the movie, Judy Garland looked like a school teacher. She was obviously an adult. The movie made fun of her 3 friends, and at the end it was all a dream instead of a parallel universe. No, Oz is supposed to be a parallel secret world, as in Harry Potter. Now, my grandparents who raised me let me buy 1 book a week, so I had 36 of the Oz books by then, and I did not like the movie one bit. So now I'll tell the meta-story of Oz with several different aspects. How the series began, how the author kept trying to kill it, how the series continued, and my pursuit of my favorite author. Let's begin with L. Frank Baum, who wrote the first 14 Oz books. There's a lot about him on Wikipedia. He was energetic and apparently very charming. Here's a book about him. He wrote many books, but he hit it big with The Wizard of Oz in 1900. It was the first all-American fairy tale. He did it in collaboration with an artist named Denslow, who was very popular at the time. Denslow drew Dorothy as pudgy, maybe 9 years old. The book was a huge hit. Baum made it into a successful musical that ran on Broadway and toured the country, but he changed it. Instead of the dog Toto, the musical had a cow. But children kept writing and asking for more Oz books. What we would now call the Oz franchise was maintained by a publishing company, publishing the books as a consistent series, connected with new characters, but often Dorothy coming back to Oz. Baum kept trying to kill Oz off. He wrote many of the kids' books, some as idiotic as Boy Fortune Hunters in Egypt, and he kept saying each of his Oz books was the last, but he eventually wrote 14 of them. The publishers, Riley and Lee, kept up a steady stream, an official series of consistent Oz books, even though Baum's plays and movie attempts diverged from the main story. The books kept up a consistent universe. After the first Oz book, Baum took on a new and wonderful illustrator, John R. Neal, and he made Dorothy about 11. And much prettier. I had a crush on her when I was 8 or 9. Neal's illustrations were marvelous. Here's the wizard later. Another Neal illustration. And he kept on illustrating the official Oz series for over 30 years. Note that in the stories, Dorothy kept coming back to Oz, where eventually she became a princess, and the wizard, formerly a humbug, came back to Oz and acquired real magical powers and gave gifts to the people, which is probably where I got my youthful socialist leanings. And here is the wizard in his later years. After Baum's death, the book publishers turned the Oz franchise over to a young woman, Ruth Plumley Thompson, who wrote, I think, 19 more in the official series. After Ruth Plumley Thompson stopped writing Oz books, the illustrator, John R. Neal, who'd made Dorothy beautiful, then wrote 3 more himself. These are my favorites: Wonder City of Oz, Scalawagons in Oz, Lucky Bucky in Oz. I stopped buying Oz books after that. They turned sour. The next authors I thought were lousy, and I moved to science fiction. But decades later, looking at an old Oz book, I saw that the illustrator and my favorite author, John R. Neal, gave his address as Flanders, New Jersey, near our family place in the country. I looked in the phone book, and they had phone books in those days, and called. Well, Neal had died, but I several times visited his widow. She was very nice and tried to convert me to Christian Science. I've recently been in touch with his granddaughter, Jory, who maintains his website, and they have lovely Neal drawings and paintings to sell. So those are my own adventures, getting in touch with relatives of my family, of my favorite Oz author, the wonderful illustrator, John Arneal. Meanwhile, presumably because sales were dropping, the official Oz publishers, Riley and Lee, dropped the franchise. A titanic mistake. It could be a multi-million-dollar property by now, but they let it slip away. So now anybody can write an Oz book, and they sprawl in all different directions. For example, the hit musical Wicked. It's about how the wicked Witch of the West became embittered because she was green. But she wasn't green in the Oz books, in the original Oz book, in the original Wizard of Oz. She was green in the Judy Garland movie. Wherever there are ideas, there are variations. And Oz is now a sprawl rather than the consistent, ongoing, alternate reality I loved as a child. So it goes. Thank you.